Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 9, text 21, page number 425. Te tam bhaktva swagalokam vishalam Jene punye marcha lokam vishanti Evam trai dharmam anupranam Tata gatam karma labhante Word for word. They, tam, that, bhuktva, enjoying, swagalokam, heaven, vishalam, vast, kene, being exhausted, punye, the results of their pious activities, marchalokam, to the mortal earth, shanti, fall down, evam, thus, trai, of the three Vedas, Dharamam, doctrines, Anuprapanaha, following, Kata Agatam, death and birth, Karmaha, desiring sense enjoyment, Labhante, attain. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, page 426, chapter 9, text 21. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One who is promoted to the higher planetary system will enjoy a longer duration of life, a better facility for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth after finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmari Asya Nataha, in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life, is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to higher planets and then again coming down, as if situated on a Ferris wheel, which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, in which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy eternal life full of bliss and knowledge, and never return to this material, this miserable material existence. Amargyantarandasya. Tadmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Danti Sapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Translation once again. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus those who seek sense enjoyment, by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas, achieve only repeated birth and death. Here we have the 9th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Most Confidential Knowledge. And verse 20 to 26 is comparing the demigods and devotee worshippers. So, Shene Punye Marcha Lokam Shanti. This line of this verse, often quoted by Srila Prabhupada in his lecture and in his purports, meaning that if you go to the heavenly planets, you have to come back again to this earthly planet. It's not a permanent arrangement. On the heavenly planet, you have a long life and better sense enjoyment, but it's not permanent. So on the people who live in Jambu Dweep, they can have as much sex life as they want, and they only have children the last year of their life. You know the story, Gajendra the elephant, he was on a heavenly planet, on a mountain, surrounded by a milk ocean. Demigods used to sport there. It says their bodies were always very fragrant. They didn't have bodies like we do, smell bad. And they don't get old and they don't get diseased. They still have to come back to this earthly planet. So what's the value of going to a heavenly planet? It's like a Ferris wheel. You go to a carnival, any big celebration, big festival, they have a Ferris wheel for the children. They like to have a little fun. So they goes around and around for some time. Sometimes you're on top, sometimes you're on the bottom, sometimes you're in the middle. But it doesn't get you anywhere. So demigod worship is something that's very very prominent and popular in the Oriental countries. Those of us who were brought up in the Western countries, Europe and America, we didn't know anything about demigods. Or we thought it was most people think it's some mythology. The Muslims think that if they go in a car or something, in a bomb, and they blow up 50 or 100 people, and blow up themselves if they will go to the heavenly planet and enjoy with 5 or 10 virgin girls. But that's not true. And even the leader of the Muslim community said that that's not part of Islamic. There's nowhere in Islamic religion that says you should do that. They concocted this idea. Because if you mass murder people, you don't go to the heavenly planet. You go to hell and suffer. You go to Yamaraj and you go to hell and suffer for your sinful activity. You can only go to the heavenly planet if you're pure, in pure goodness, and you give up all your sinful activity by your souls. So there's the people who fail to understand Krishna, says here they go to the heavenly planets. And also in Upanishad, it says that those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal Absolute. It said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and another result is worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard by undisturbed authorities who clearly explain it. And Krishna also mentions in the 7th chapter about demigod worship. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and the fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, and my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality Krishna, was impersonal before and have assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So here it says, men of small intelligence. Apa Medasham. Men of small intelligence worship demigods. So demigod worship, Prabhupada heard that they were worshiping demigods in Vrindavan. So who's this rascal introduced demigod worship? Vrindavan is the land of Krishna, and it's only which worship of Radha and Krishna is the main function here. But people have come here with this misunderstanding. People in the Western countries were brought up in a Christian background, Judeo-Christian background, so there was no question of understanding anything about worshipping demigods. But people in the Oriental countries, in India, Asia, they have, since their childhood, they've been taught to worship different demigods, Shiva, Parvati, Ganesh. Guru Kripa asked Prabhupada if he could worship Ganesh. Prabhupada said, yes, you can worship Ganesh, just send me $10,000 every month. Of course, Prabhupada knew that was impossible. So there's not one single ISKCON temple in the world where you find anybody worshiping demigods. But one man who's a life member of ISKCON, he built a temple down the street, and he has Gaurnitai, Krishna Balaram, Radhashama Sundar, Ganesh, Durga, Shiva Linga, Rama, Lakshmi. He got the whole show there, which is called the hodgepodge concoction. There's no need. Krishna said, you worship me, they don't need to worship anyone else. But he didn't understand our philosophy, so he made his temple. But the devotees aren't confused. We don't worship demigods. But we respect the demigods. We don't disrespect them. We respect everyone as a spirit soul. And demigods are pious because they are devotees, but they have material desires. They're not pure devotees. It's like reading the 8th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, churning the ocean of milk. The demigods and demons are churning the ocean to get the nectar of immortality. So several times the Lord incarnates in different features. He comes as a tortoise, he comes as on the top of the hill, he comes in maybe, I don't know how many times he comes. But they don't ask him for liberation to get out of the material world. They ask him to help them get the nectar. So he does that. They get the nectar, but they don't get out of the material world. So they're not very intelligent, less intelligent. And on the 5th of March, Shivratri is coming up. There's not the birth of Lord Shiva. It's in something else, marriage of Lord Shiva. But I want to describe in the Krishna book, once upon a time, the cowherd men decided to observe Shivratri. So they went to the Saraswati River in Ambika, and they fasted all day and drank a little water at night. Because if you're fasting, you can drink water, it doesn't break your fast. So they decided to observe Shivratri. So Vaishnavas can observe Shivratri, the worship of Lord Shiva, but not as a demigod. We worship Shiva, Vaishnava Yata Shambhu, as the best of all Vaishnavas. So when they were worshipping, after they finished taking their bath and they lay down to take rest, a big serpent came and started swallowing up Nanda Maharaj, a python. So Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowherd men got up from sleep, took burning logs and started beating the serpent, but the serpent wouldn't give up Nanda Maharaj. So they called for Krishna to help. Krishna came there and touched the serpent, and a beautiful demigod came out of his body. And then, after that, Krishna showed the residents of Vrindavan, the Garmen, the Vaikuntha planets, in Golok Vrindavan, which was the arrangement of Yogamaya. So although they're in Golok, Gokul is identical to Golok, they didn't know that because they were under the influence of Yogamaya. So in this way, they worship Lord Shiva. So we also respect Lord Shiva as the best of demigods. But demons like Ravana performed austerities, Hiranyakashipu performed severe austerities to get the benedictions of the different demigods. Hiranyakashipu stood on his toes with his hands raised for 100 years to get the benediction from Lord Brahma to become immortal. And Lord Shiva, Lord Ravana, he worshipped Lord Shiva to get a similar benediction. So, but ultimately they were ruined, and Krishna killed them, as Ravana was killed by Lord Ramachandra, and Hiranyakashipu was killed by Lord Nrsingadev. So they couldn't get their desire to become immortal and stay in the material world. as long as they wanted, cannot something that any demigod can give. This is an example of less intelligent person. One man, one demon, his name was Rikashura, he didn't know who to worship. So he asked who he should worship. Can you turn off your phone? So they told him that you should worship Lord Shiva. So this demon was worshiping Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva didn't appear to him. So he started cutting off his flesh and throwing it in the fire. And still Lord Shiva didn't come. So then he went to took a bath, and then while he was still wet, he was going to cut off his head and throw his body in the fire. And finally Lord Shiva came there. Said, you don't have to do all these things. I'm satisfied with just a little 2 leaves from a bilva tree and some water. And because we know Lord Shiva, he's easily pleased, easily angered. So he was pleased with this demon and said, you can ask for a boon, benediction. The demon said, I want the benediction that when I put my hand on anyone's head, it will crack. So Lord Shiva gives people benedictions, but he doesn't accept those people as his disciple, and he doesn't tell them if the benediction is good for them or bad for them. So this person decided that he was going to test out the benediction on Lord Shiva, and then he was going to enjoy Lord Shiva's wife. So he started chasing Lord Shiva all over the universe. And Lord Shiva couldn't get away from this person who was going to put his hand on his head. So finally he went to Vaikuntha, went to Svetadreep where Mahavishnu resides. And Mahavishnu appeared there and said to this man that actually Lord Shiva has not given you any benediction, and he's just a liar. So all you have to do is put your hand on your own head, and when nothing happens, then you can kill that liar, Lord Shiva. So he did that. He became forgetful, and he put his hand on his own head, and it cracked. So in this way, he got cheated, he got fooled. So the thing is, there's no need to worship demigods and get some benedictions which are not good for anyone or good for that person, because it's only temporary. Doesn't get one out of the material world. So one lady had asked Prabhupada, when Prabhupada went to America in 1965, there were no authentic copies of Bhagavad-Gita in English. So one lady asked Prabhupada, it says this present edition can be explained as follows. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad-Gita. Of course, in America, there were so many editions of Bhagavad-Gita available in English. But as far as I've seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinion without touching the spirit of Bhagavad-Gita. So this is the Bhagavad-Gita Tarup as it is. In Russia, they wanted to ban the Bhagavad-Gita. So the lawyer for the devotee said, well, this Bhagavad-Gita has been in your library in the university since 1930, and you never had any objection to it. So why are you objecting to it now? And they said, because that's a different Bhagavad Gita, and this is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So the Bhagavad Gita is like a handbook, and the Vedic literatures were compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, and he also wrote the Mahabharata, and Bhagavad Gita is found there in Mahabharata. The conversation between Arjuna and Krishna just before the Battle of Kurukshetra. So Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita in approximately 45 minutes or 1 hour, 700 verses. But when they show it on Mahabharata, when they do a production, they show the universal form, and then they think that's the end of the Bhagavad Gita. But the Bhagavad Gita is their ABC of spiritual life, and everything is there, and everything you need to know about the material and spiritual world, everything is there in Bhagavad Gita in a concise way. The Bhagavad Gita deals with 5 subject matters: karma, the living entity, Supreme Lord, material nature, and time. 4 things are permanent, but the one thing that can be changed is your karma. So Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Beach, at the time of initiation, the Guru takes your karma, and then you don't suffer for your future karma. But when you take initiation, it's like the fan. When they turn on the fan, in a few weeks we're going to be turning on the fans. So when you turn off the fan, it doesn't stop running automatically. So when you take initiation, you still have some prarabdha karma or some sinful activities you have to suffer for, but Krishna minimizes your suffering. So that can change. Your karma can change. It's like when you clap your hands during Artik, the lines on your hands change. So your karma can change. The other thing is time, the living entity, Supreme Lord, material world, they don't change. And we know Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Godhead. And Bhagavad says it's better to worship Krishna and go to the spiritual world, enjoy a life of Satchidananda, eternal bliss and knowledge. So we have a positive alternative. We can either stay in the material world and try to enjoy. Most people think in today's modern civilization that life is just meant to enjoy our senses as much as possible. And they think to have as much sex life as possible is also the goal of life. And the big personalities, movie stars and athletes, they go on national television and they brag about how much sex life they've had, like it's something wonderful. But eating, sleeping, mating, defending is the animal propensity. Animals do the same thing. Animals eat, man eats. Animals sleep, man sleeps. Animals have sex life, the man has sex life. Animals defend themselves, man defends himself. So what's the difference between an animal and a man? Well, there's no real difference if one is only interested in eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But the man can do it in a more glorious way. You can have a nice apartment, a nice bedroom, have sex life. Instead, animals have sex in the street. You can go to a big restaurant and eat a big feast. The defending is going on all over the world. So many wars are going on. Countries are defending themselves. And sleeping, the animals sleep, the dogs sleep in the street or somewhere like that. A man can get a nice bed for sleeping. But still the same activities. So the difference between a human being, Tato Brahma Jignasa, that one can inquire into the absolute. Here it says, if one does not attain perfect knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha, or one who fails to understand Krishna as the cause of all causes, become baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life, and thus subject to the routine of being promoted to higher planets and then coming down again. The human form of life is the only form out of 8,400,000 species. There's 900,000 species in the water. There's 2 million trees and plants, or is the other way around? Anyway, 1 million insects and reptiles, 1,100,000 birds, 3 million beasts, and 200,000 human beings. So demigods are also included in the category of human beings. So human beings have a higher intelligence and can discriminate between right and wrong. If there's a sign on the grass, don't walk on the grass, the human being can read it and follow it, but a dog or a cat or a monkey, they can't follow that. So they walk on the grass knowing they don't get arrested. But a human being has intelligence to discriminate between right and wrong. So a human being has to have some training. The human form of life, it says, Ado Guru Ashraya, one must accept a spiritual master, because Tad Vidi Paripaptena, Paripasena Sevaya, Uptekyanti Jagyanas, Gyanastafa Darshanaha. One should inquire from a spiritual master and render service unto him. He can impart knowledge unto you because he's seen the truth. So a bona fide spiritual master is one who has full control of his senses and knows the science of Krishna. There are many so-called gurus in this world, but a real guru doesn't say, I'm God. He says, I'm the servant of God. Gopi Bharata Kamalan Das Dasam Das. When Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, he came as Bhakti avatar. And sometimes they would glorify him as being the Supreme Lord. He would cover his ears. He didn't want to hear that, because he's playing the role of a devotee. So Lord Chaitanya also accepted a spiritual master when he went to Gaya. And before he went to Gaya, he was in Navadvip as Nimai Pandit. And he wasn't exhibiting his form as of Godhead. And he was acting as a scholar, and he would defeat everyone. And he was a proud scholar. So at the age of 16, he went to Gaya and met Ishvara Puri and took initiation from him. And then when he came back to Namadvip, he was a changed person. He started exhibiting ecstatic symptoms. He started the Sankirtan movement. And he started acting like a devotee. And all the residents of Navadvip, at least the Vaishnavas, were very pleased to see this. So Lord Chaitanya played the role of a devotee or a Vaishnava by receiving a spiritual master. Krishna and Balaram, at the age of 11, they went to Mathura and took second initiation from Gargacharya, the priest of the Yadu dynasty. Then they went to Sandapani Muni to get further instruction. So in this way, even though they don't need spiritual master, they need great personalities, and even the Lord himself, Krishna, Balaram, Lord Chaitanya, accepted a spiritual master to set the example for human society. Even if you want to become a doctor, you can read all the books on medical books and say, now I'm a doctor, but you don't have a degree. But if you go to college and you learn how to be a doctor from a professional doctor to teach you, then you can get a degree and be a doctor. So whether material life or spiritual life, everyone needs a guru or some instruction, someone to instruct you properly so that you can be bona fide. So at the time of initiation, everyone in this movement promises to chant 16 rounds as Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because this is Yuga Dharma. Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. But there's one good quality, Klodosha, Hey Rajan, that in this age, by chanting the holy name, one can get liberated or get out of the material world. This is the process for this age. In other ages, there were different Yuga Dharmas. In Satya Yuga, it was meditation. Treta Yuga, it was sacrifice. In Dwapara Yuga, it was temple worship. And in Kali Yuga, we can't do any of those things. We can't meditate. They have yoga societies in big cities, but it's a farce. It's not they don't know what yoga is. They don't know what meditation is. The teacher says, now you should sit down and close your eyes and think of nothing. But your mind is always one. You can't think of nothing, and that's not real meditation. If you read the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, and you understand what yoga really is. Yoga means to link with the Supreme. And yogi, he has to go to the sacred, secluded place. You can't live in a big city where it's crowded and noisy, so much disturbance. He has to lay kusa grass and sit on a mat, deerskin mat, and he has to be free from fear and free from sex desire. Then he can sit with half open eyes and meditate on the super soul. So this is Paramatma realization. This is real yoga. So who can do that? Nobody in this age can do that. But in past ages they were able to do that to some extent. But in this age, we can't do that. We can't do the meditation. We can't perform elaborate sacrifices. And the Pandavas, King Yudhishthira, wanted to perform a Rajasuya sacrifice, which is a bona fide sacrifice, and all the utensils have to be made of gold, and the mantras have to be chanted properly. You have to have a proper Brahmins, and if the mantras weren't chanted properly, then the sacrifice would not be successful. So in Kali Yuga, there are no qualified Brahmins to chant the mantras, so you can't do sacrifices. And they'd sacrifice an animal. When Lord Chaitanya was in Navadvip, the Qazi was people complained to the Qazi, the Brahmins complained to the Qazi that this Sankirtan, this chanting holy name in the street is disturbing, is ruining our Hindu religion. So the Qazi went, stopped the kirtan, broke the drum, and made a declaration. If anyone does kirtan, if I catch anyone doing kirtan in the streets, I'm going to take all his possessions and take away his caste and turn him into a Hindu, turn him into a Muslim. So although he became fearful, didn't know what to do. So Lord Chaitanya organized a civil disobedience, civil march on the Qazi's house. And they were carrying torches, burning torches, and they were doing kirtan, marched on the Qazi's house. And then when they got to the Qazi's house, the Lord Chaitanya met the Qazi and had a discussion with him. So Lord Chaitanya asked the Qazi 2 questions. First question was, why do you people kill the cow and eat meat? And the Qazi said, well, in your Hindu religion, you also do the same thing. But Lord Chaitanya replied, no, that's not true. When we do sacrifice, according to Vedic sacrifice, when the animal, they bring an old animal, and when the sacrifice is performed properly, then the animal is rejuvenated, gets a new body. So there's no killing involved. And then Lord Chaitanya asked the Qazi, you were stopping our Sankirtan, why are you not stopping our Sankirtan anymore? He said, well, I sent my constables to stop the Sankirtan, but when they got near the Sankirtan party, the beards got on fire. So they couldn't do anything, so they just went home. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya performed his Sankirtan in Navadvip and delivered all the people. And then Lord Chaitanya took sannyas and went to South India for 6 years. And for 6 years, wherever he went, Lord Chaitanya, whoever met Lord Chaitanya, he embraced that person and told him to chant Hare Krishna, turned the person into a Vaishnava, and wherever that person went, he also turned all the other people into Vaishnavas, and all the other people went to other people and turned them all into Vaishnavas. This way, he inundated all South India into Vaishnavas, into devotees of Krishna. But the question may be raised why he didn't do that in Navadvip. He didn't do that in Navadvip because the Navadvip was had the smarter Brahmins who were accustomed to following rules and regulations and were not receptive to the preaching of Lord Chaitanya. That's one reason why Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, because they couldn't understand his mood and they weren't respecting him. So he said that the people in Navadvip were not receptive, so I didn't try to deliver them. So even in our Krishna conscious movement, if we go to some place that's not favorable for preaching, then we should not stay there, we should go somewhere else. But Prabhupada said in India, the devotees were saying they couldn't make devotees, it was too hard to preach here. He said preaching means converting Jagai and Madai. And it turns out that they were wrong. They said we can't distribute books in India, can't preach in India, but India becomes the #1 country in book distribution every year, and so many people are becoming devotees. So in this way, the positive alternative, people have a positive alternative to either staying in material life, suffering through their whole life, and then dying in a suffering, death is most painful situation, and then have to take birth again. So the Denosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tatadeham jarapaptir diras tatra namuyite, boiled youth, old age, then at the time of death, the soul passes on to another body. 15th chapter says, conditioned soul takes another body like the air passes aroma. It's very subtle arrangement. But Prabhupada says that the soul is so active in the body, and at death there's no more activity. So it's not a very good conclusion that the life comes to matter, and that when this life is ended, there's no more activity, that there's no more, that you're finished, your life is finished. Your life is not finished, but the body is finished. And then you have to go to Yamaraj, get judged, get another body. But we always have a body, we always have a form. And Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he always has a body, he always had a form. So never say, Shunyavadi Paskacha Desatarni. Prabhupada came to America to preach Krishna consciousness, to make people understand that God's a person. And he says we know that his address, we know his phone number, we know everything about Krishna. Krishna's Nava-yovana, he's ever youthful. Even on the battlefield, etc., he was 125 years old, but he's looking like he's 16 or 20. yet great-great-grandchildren. So Krishna is all attractive, all beautiful, and has so many pastimes and devotees and name, form, qualities, pastimes. Everything about Krishna is spiritual. So in this way, by practicing Krishna consciousness, we can be assured that at the time of death, we will remember Krishna, yam yam vapi smarambavam. Krishna says, whatever you think about at the time of death, that you will attain. So we're trying to cultivate Krishna consciousness so we can go, don't have to take birth again in this material world. We should understand this. And when Lord Chaitanya had a conversation with Ramananda Roy in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he explained, Ramananda explained that the highest form of devotional service is the mood of the gopis. The gopis had no desire. One time, Krishna told Narada Muni that I have a headache, and the only thing that would cure my headache is if I get the feet dust from someone. So Narada Muni thought, well, I'm not going to give you my feet dust. That won't be proper. So he went to the queens in Dwarka. Said, no, we can't give our feet dust. We'll go to hell. So he went to the gopis. The gopis said, Krishna has a headache. He wants feet dust. He said, take as much as you want. And Narada Muni said, well, you may have to go to hell. They said, we don't care. If it pleases Krishna, then we'll do anything to please Krishna. So these gopis had no personal interest, no desire to enjoy. It may seem like they were lusty, but their only interest was to please Krishna. So in this way, everything we're doing is for the service of the Guru and for pleasing Krishna. And this is the Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is a joyful process, a happy process, and the alternative to the rat race. Material life is the rat race, where people have to work day and night just to get money, to try to live, enjoy life. Fifth Canto Srimad Bhagavatam says there's no happiness in family life. People ask anybody who's been married for some time, they'll tell you the same thing. But people are working so hard, day and night, to get some money, to maintain the family, to do this and that. They forget about spiritual life. And Sukadeva Goswami would go to people's houses, householders, and stay long enough to milk a cow and preach to people about spiritual life. Because generally householders are poor-hearted because they think material life, maintaining a family is first business, and spiritual life is second business. But you come in this world with nothing, and you leave this world with nothing. So what's the point in spending your whole life accumulating so many things when you can't take anything with you? And the family can't save you, the doctor, the best of medicine can't save you, the boat can't save a drowning man, and the parents can't save and protect a child. So it's all up to Krishna. So what's the point in trying to stay in the material world and uselessly not understanding that the real goal of life is to go back to Godhead and never return to this material world? And here it says in this purport that one should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life of bliss and knowledge and never return to the material world, material existence. So you can choose, or you can either stay in the material world, even if you go and become a demigod for thousands of years, you still have to come back to Earth planet and suffer repeated birth and death. Or you can go to the spiritual world and live a life eternally full of knowledge and bliss. So there's many more things to say, but our time is up. Anybody have any questions, comments? Question man is here. To the microphone. Is this an intelligent question? Is this an intelligent question? No.
The pious activities bring us to the heaven. The pious activities which we are doing, it will take us to heaven. And how long we have done the pious activities, then we stay in heaven, then we come back down again. So whatever we are doing in Krishna consciousness, is that we are going to heavenly planet or we are going to Bhagavad-Gita?
He wants to know where we're going. Well, Ramananda Roy explained that one has to be free from all material contamination. And then you go where Krishna is having his Boma Lila, and your Swarup Siddhi, your identity, whether it's a friend or a cowboy or a parent or a gopi, will be revealed to you. You take birth in a family where Krishna is having his pastimes, get trained up further so that you can go back to Godhead. That's our only interest. We're not interested in pious or impious activities. It's all temporary.
In this material world, this material world is continuated. So we are already continuated in this material world. We are already continuated in this material world. So how we can be free from this material world?
You can be free from this material world by chanting the pure name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. You chant one time without offense, then you're free from the material world. It's all in how we are executing our Krishna consciousness and your desire. Krishna knows in your heart. Krishna knows your desires and what, how much you want to surrender. Sarvadharma Prikshaja Mamekam Saranam. From Pavme Moksha Samama Suchaha. You have to surrender to Krishna, surrender to Guru, surrender to Krishna, then we'll get out of this material world. Then our life can become successful. Anybody else have any question? One more.
Prabhuji, in the translation, when they have thus enjoyed a heavenly sense pleasure, they return to the mortal planet again. Then the second sentence, thus through the Vedic principles, they achieve only flickering happiness. So Vedic principles, to study the Vedas and Shastras, is supposed to be liberated, right?
If you read the next sentence, read the next sentence. Read the next sentence.
Yeah, that is in the translation, that is the last sentence. Thus, through the Vedic principles, they achieve only flickering happiness. Vedic principles supposed to be liberated, right?
I know, but most people read the Vedas, don't understand the Vedas. Vedantikrit Veda Veda Evachaham. Krishna says, I'm the knower, compiler of the Vedas, knower of the Vedas. But they don't know that. Scholars, scientists, the Vedantists, they read the Vedas, but they don't know what the real meaning of the Vedas. That's why we have Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless Purana, is the essence of all the Vedas. We can't read the Vedas, we can't know the Vedas. The Vedas are too complicated. Mainly deal with the three modes of material nature. So Krishna told Arjuna, Nishchai Guna Bhavarjuna, to rise above the three modes of material nature. He shouldn't be attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. The Vedas are stressing karma kanda activities, not devotional service. So that's the problem. So that's why Srila Vyasadeva wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam to emphasize devotional service. Anybody else? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande.